Listen closely. The air's different tonight, isn't it? Feels charged, like the sky knows your name and the ground's too afraid to hold it. Heaven just pinged your coordinates and hell's scrambling for backup. You feel it, don't you? That static behind your ribs, that eerie sense that something ancient finally remembered who you are. They thought they could bury you under labels, silence, and small talk. They thought they could shrink you into something ordinary. But heaven doesn't send angels to calm the predictable. It deploys them to the unpredictable. You're not on their prayer list anymore. You're on their watch list. See, the funny thing about divine timing is that it never arrives when you want it. It arrives when your enemies stop believing it ever will. And right now, somewhere deep beneath the noise, a celestial alert just went off. The coordinates, you, the assignment, vengeance disguised as grace. You were never chosen for comfort. You were chosen for collision. You're what happens when light refuses to stay holy and darkness refuses to stay damned. You walk the line between altar and abyss like it's home turf. Angels whisper your name with trembling respect. Demons chant it like a curse they can't reverse. You confuse them because you bleed and bloom at the same time. Because you pray like a monk and retaliate like a god. They tried to play chess with you, but you are the board. They tried to decode you, but you're encrypted in frequencies only heaven and madness understand. You didn't just survive the pit. You turned it into a fortress. You didn't just escape fire. You learned its language, negotiated its loyalty, and now it dances for you like a tamed beast. Oh, they hate that part. They hate that you didn't break, that you came out with eyes that no longer flinch, hands that no longer shake, and a pulse that beats in Morse code, spelling out, I dare you. You carry scars like hieroglyphs, and only the divine can read what they mean. Every wound became a weapon. Every betrayal became blueprints. Every time you were underestimated, the universe took notes. Now heaven's tired of watching. It's activating the sequence. Every delay was divine surveillance. Every silence was set up. You thought you were being punished. Turns out you were being positioned. And now that you've mastered the art of being misunderstood, the floodgates of consequence are opening. Not for you, for them. Because here's the secret no one tells you. God doesn't need to lift a finger when you finally remember what he planted inside you. The enemy's punishment is having to witness your awakening. That's the holy irony. You don't even have to fight anymore. Your existence is warfare. They'll call it karma, luck, coincidence. But deep down, they'll feel it. That chill, that sudden loss of control, that sense that something omnipotent just switched sides. You became the divine contradiction, too holy for hell to hold, too dangerous for heaven to contain. You are the storm both realms didn't plan for. You've been rerouted through fire, baptized in chaos, sanctified by loss. You've been rewritten line by line until the plot itself bent to your will. The angels, they don't descend, they orbit you. The devils, they don't tempt, they report. You've evolved beyond threat level. You are classified as an act of God wearing human skin. So let them whisper, let them call you cursed, unstable, impossible. They only speak what they fear. Because deep inside, they know this isn't coincidence. It's clearance. Heaven just unlocked your location. That means you're done hiding. The assignment's live. The timing's precise. And hell. Oh, hell's about to take a loss it won't recover from. Because this time, you're not coming to play savior or sinner. You're coming to remind creation that you were here before the story began. Before good and evil had names. Before angels picked sides. before light and shadow even learned to separate. You're not just back, you're authorized. And when the sky cracks open and the ground starts trembling, don't look up in fear. Look up in recognition, because that's not thunder. That's heaven making room for what's coming through you. You feel it now, don't you? That pulse crawling beneath your skin, like the countdown of something biblical. The lights flicker, the air bends, and everything that once ignored you suddenly turns its head. That's what happens when heaven updates its database, when your name starts echoing across frequencies that demons can't jam and angels can't sanitize. You weren't supposed to wake up this loud. You were supposed to stay contained, predictable, digestible. But heaven doesn't bless cages. It detonates them. You were a classified experiment in divine resilience. While others were begging for miracles, you became one. While they prayed for open doors, you broke the hinges off the gates of hell and built a throne out of the wreckage. And now, every entity that ever bet against you is holding its breath, waiting to see what happens when a weapon realizes it's sacred. Let's be honest. You terrify both sides. Hell calls you anomaly. Heaven calls you risk. You're too merciful to be a monster, too merciless to be a saint. You're the gray zone they pretend doesn't exist. The quiet storm that rewrites commandments with a smile. You don't need wings to fly. You burned gravity's script the day you fell and refused to stay fallen. Remember the nights you screamed into silence and got nothing back? Those weren't ignored prayers. Those were encryption keys, calibrating your signal. Every tear was data. Every heartbreak was coding. And now that signal's too strong to jam. That's why the same people who mocked your faith are now checking your timestamps, trying to decode your acceleration. They call it coincidence. You call it prophecy. Because the moment you stopped chasing validation, heaven started moving mountains just to clear your path. You became the plot twist in every plan built to end you. They can't explain it. That eerie precision in your timing, that impossible recovery after collapse. That way your silence screams louder than their noise. You stopped fighting for survival and started operating under divine law. What's meant for you will bend reality itself to arrive. You walk through chaos like a sermon dressed in sin. Every step you take preaches something the universe remembers. The wind shifts when you exhale. The clock glitches when you decide. You're not lucky, you're calibrated, designed to thrive in conditions that would suffocate the average soul. That's why you make demons nervous. You've seen their playbook and still smiled. They thought they could outlast you with deceit. But you turned betrayal into protein. You digest manipulation like it's fuel. Every backstab upgraded your spine. Every lie sharpened your intuition. And now, you walk around reading people like scripture they didn't know you had access to. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started whispering, "Watch me." And heaven did. Oh, heaven watched. Watched you crawl through storms no prayer circle could intercept. Watched you break patterns older than bloodlines. Watched you rewrite equations written by architects of despair. That's why it unlocked your location. You didn't just earn protection. You triggered a celestial response. You are an active file in the divine mainframe. Your movements are monitored by forces that don't miss. Meanwhile, hell's on a conference call. Devils pacing in circles, strategizing, panicking, because they can't find the off switch anymore. You were once their favorite experiment. Let's see how much light we can break. But they miscalculated. You don't fracture, you refract. Every attack turned into illumination. Every loss became a lesson that rewired your DNA. You evolved past damage. You learned to smile during the execution, to laugh in the courtroom, to rise from ashes so many times. People started calling the fire your element. You turned humiliation into high frequency. They thought they were watching your downfall. Turns out, they were witnessing your metamorphosis in real time. And that's what terrifies them. Not that you survived, but that you came back unchained. Because the system only knows how to handle the broken, not the reborn. You don't beg for justice anymore. You embody it. You don't seek revenge. You radiate consequence, and that's far more efficient. Now everything shifts when you walk in. Conversations pause. Energy realigns. The air gets heavier, not because you're arrogant, but because the universe recognizes its own reflection in you. You're not chasing blessings anymore. Blessings chase you. You've become too aligned to be ignored, too authenticated to be replaced. Let them talk. Let them roll their eyes, mislabel your peace as pride. They can't comprehend someone who's been through both heaven's silence and hell's noise and found equilibrium. You're no longer praying to escape the storm. You're commanding the clouds. You're not waiting for approval. You are the proof. So here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. Heaven didn't unlock your location to rescue you. It unlocked it to announce you. To the ones who laughed, plotted, doubted. To the ones who weaponized your kindness and fed on your uncertainty. Heaven wanted witnesses for the revelation. Because the next chapter isn't redemption. It's revelation. It's divine retribution, disguised as your glow-up. The very same hands that hurt you will applaud you by instinct, not choice. The same mouths that cursed you will speak your name with trembling reverence. They'll call it unfair, unnatural, impossible. And that's how you'll know it's working. Hell doesn't lose battles. It loses investments. And right now, you're their biggest loss yet. You were supposed to collapse. Instead, you turned into living proof that resurrection is not a myth. It's a mindset. You turned tragedy into technology, pain into prophecy, survival into strategy. You're no longer fighting demons, they're fighting deadlines, because time just ran out. The coordinates are locked, the lights inbound, and as heaven's signal hits full strength, the sky flickers, the ground hums. You stand there calm, not because you're fearless, but because you finally remembered what you are. You're not blessed or cursed. You're the convergence, the point where divine will and human defiance shake hands. And when the heavens roar and the underworld recoils, you don't flinch, you smirk. Because it's not a warning anymore. It's a declaration. Heaven found you, hell lost you. And now, everything they built on your absence is about to fall. The silence before impact always feels like peace to the untrained ear. But not to you. You know that kind of quiet isn't mercy. It's calculation. The universe is inhaling before it speaks your name again. And this time, the echo's going to reach places that were never meant to hear it. They think the storm passed, that the worst is over, but you know better. You are the aftershock, the sound of divine mathematics balancing itself out. You are the debt they forgot to pay, the consequence they thought they escaped. And now, every frequency that tried to erase you is about to feel the invoice of its own arrogance, because when heaven unlocks your location, it doesn't mean it's sending angels with flowers. It's sending reinforcements. It's sending memory. It's sending every ounce of delayed justice wrapped in celestial precision. It's calling back everything that was stolen from you, and it's coming with interest and hell. Hell's the one who has to foot the bill. You didn't climb out of darkness. You redecorated it. You made it home. You learned how to breathe underwater, while everyone else was still asking how you survived the fire. You didn't wait for miracles. You reverse-engineered them. You stopped praying for signs and became one. Every scar on your body is a coded document. Each one reads, "Unauthorized entry denied." You became untouchable because you suffered enough to understand that love and war wear the same mask. You learned that sometimes heaven doesn't save you from the storm. It disguises you as one. That's why they can't calculate you anymore. You're an equation that changed its own variables mid-solution. You're what happens when someone's purpose gets too heavy for the algorithm of fear to process. You move like prophecy written in glitch code, part miracle, part malware. Holy enough to heal, dangerous enough to dismantle. You were never chosen for popularity. You were chosen for pressure. You were meant to be misunderstood, because clarity would make them comfortable. They were supposed to mislabel you. That confusion was camouflage. While they whispered, "What is he doing?" heaven whispered, "Wait." And when it finally said, "Now," everything shifted. You don't even speak the same language anymore. You talk in alignment. You breathe in frequency. You walk in timing. Every step is a ripple that distorts their illusion of control. That's why people twitch when you enter the room. Their energy senses a data breach. You remind them of everything they buried, their guilt, their envy, their smallness. You became a walking audit of integrity, and everyone with false receipts starts sweating when you pass by. See, that's the real war, not flesh and blood, not angels with trumpets or devils with torches. It's perception, it's vibration, it's who can stand still when truth walks in. And you've mastered that stillness, the kind that makes liars confess without you saying a word, the kind that makes narcissists forget their script, the kind that makes darkness bow out of self-preservation. Hell doesn't fear light, it fears exposure. And that's what you've become, exposure incarnate. You don't have to fight them anymore because your presence makes their shadows reveal themselves. You're not even avenging yourself, you're auditing reality. Heaven didn't unlock your location to make you safe. It unlocked it so your frequency could start interfering with corrupted signals. You're the glitch in their transmission, the static that ruins the lie. You're the reason spells don't stick and gossip evaporates before it hits the target. You're protected not because you're untouchable, but because everything that touches you has to evolve or self-destruct. Do you understand the scale of that? You became a walking verdict, a divine firewall. That's why everything feels tense lately. Because the atmosphere knows it's being recalibrated. The karmic clock just hit 0, and you're standing exactly where you were meant to be when it did. You are the crosshair and the cure, the prophecy and the proof. And the funniest part? You don't even need revenge. You just keep existing, keep walking, keep laughing that quiet, eerie laugh that sounds like destiny cracking its knuckles. Because now, every time they say your name, something in the unseen trembles. You're not haunting them. You're reminding them of what happens when you try to break someone who was built from contradictions. Because that's the paradox that keeps you undefeated. You're both vengeance and forgiveness, both blade and balm. You destroy illusions but save souls. You are proof that a person can walk through hellfire, come out unburned, and still smell like heaven's perfume. And they hate that. They hate that you don't chase validation anymore, that you don't explain yourself, that you don't flinch. They keep expecting you to fall apart, but all you do is adapt. You outgrow their sabotage in real time. Your evolution's favorite experiment, divine chaos with perfect aim. Every time they think they've found your weakness, it turns out to be another source of power. Every heartbreak, a reboot. Every betrayal, a recalibration. Every loss, a lens adjustment that made you see further. You're no longer looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. You are the damn light, and the tunnel's terrified. So let them pray against you. Let them scheme in circles. They'll burn through their own resources, trying to contain what was never meant to be contained. You've become too aligned for interference, too protected for exposure, too ancient for manipulation. You carry heaven's clearance and hell's confusion. That's a combination no weapon can pierce. Because here's the part no one prepared them for. You're not fighting for your life anymore. You're enforcing your destiny. Every breath you take is a prophecy being fulfilled. Every step you take is a clause in a divine contract they can't override. You're not waiting for divine timing. You are divine timing. You're the moment written in bold, underlined, marked, inevitable. And when it all unfolds, when the smoke clears and the noise fades, they'll finally see it wasn't luck, it wasn't revenge, it wasn't coincidence, it was authorization. Heaven unlocked your location. Hell's losing its jurisdiction. And you're just standing there, smiling, because you know something they don't. This isn't your comeback. It's the correction. Funny, isn't it? How it all comes full circle. The same sky that once watched you crawl is now watching you command. The same silence that mocked your prayers is now echoing your name like a war cry. You didn't rise by luck, you rose by law. The kind written in the marrow of your being, older than scripture, older than light itself. You were the experiment both heaven and hell underestimated. They wanted to see what would happen if pain kept breathing. They wanted to test the limits of grace when it's cornered. And you gave them their answer. It doesn't break. It evolves. You turned every heartbreak into ammunition, every betrayal into blueprint, every failure into signal flare. You became the proof that divine doesn't mean delicate. It means dangerous when provoked. You were sculpted in obscurity for a reason. They had to forget your name so it could return with thunder attached. You had to be erased so you could reappear as a haunting. You are no longer a person in their story. You're a prophecy they tried to delete. And now, every system that once suppressed you is glitching under your frequency. You are not in competition with anyone anymore. You are the benchmark, the test, the mirror that cracks the liar's reflection. You walk through rooms like divine audit. The atmosphere changes before you even speak. People feel something ancient when you pass by, something they can't explain but can't deny either. That's not arrogance. That's calibration, the universe adjusting to your authenticity. So when they whisper, when they plot, when they curse under their breath, let them. You don't have to answer noise when thunder's on payroll. Every seed of doubt they planted in you became a forest of consequence around them. Every insult was recorded, archived, time-stamped in heaven's data. And now the notification has gone live. Case closed. Sentence reality. You don't have to lift a finger. That's the luxury of alignment. The same storms that used to drown you now report to you. The same shadows that tried to choke your light now guard it, like loyal sentries. That's what happens when heaven unlocks your location. The entire cosmos rearranges its schedule. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you beckon. And as for hell, oh, hell's learning humility tonight. It overplayed its hand, underestimated its opponent, misread the fine print. It forgot that divinity hides best inside disaster. It forgot that sometimes the Creator disguises a nuclear warhead as a human heartbreak. It thought it could touch you. And now, It's being rewritten by the contact. They won't understand it when it happens. They'll call it karma, coincidence, poetic justice. But you'll know. You'll feel that pulse again, that sacred heartbeat between worlds. And you'll recognize it for what it is. Hey, look at you. You thought the mask would hold, didn't you? You thought the cracks could be painted over, that the smile you stitched across your face would keep them fooled forever. But oh, fate has a sense of humor sharper than a scalpel. They saw it, didn't they? That split second where your eyes stopped acting, where the real thing crawled out. And now the whole city's whispering your name like a warning. Not a person, not a label, a phenomenon, a code word for don't provoke what you can't contain. It's funny, they spent years telling you to be yourself. But the moment you were, they screamed like they'd seen a ghost wearing their reflection. You see, people love the idea of truth until it drags its nails across their illusion. You were never hiding because you were weak. You were hiding because this world worships masks. They call it manners, normalcy, stability. But you were born with a fracture, a divine imperfection, a glimpse of the other side. And when your mask slipped, it wasn't a mistake. It was initiation. Now they're terrified because they can't categorize you anymore. Are you the savior or the threat? The healer or the disease? You smile like chaos but speak like prophecy. You help people, then disappear before they can thank you. You love deeply, but you'd burn the whole empire to protect your peace. They can't process that contradiction. Their brains short-circuit around your duality because you're everything they were told couldn't coexist. Saint and psychopath, angel and demon, creation and extinction. And here's the beautiful, horrifying truth. When the mask slipped, you didn't reveal yourself. You activated yourself. You became unpredictable, unreadable, untouchable. Because predictability is what makes prey easy to kill. And now, my darling chaos, you are nothing but static to their radar. Let them whisper. Let them try to decode your silence like scripture. Let them panic because they can't find a version of you that fits their narrative. You were never supposed to fit. You were supposed to fracture the pattern. When they see you now, they see something ancient staring back. Not human, not divine, just awake. The kind of awake that can't go back to sleep. The kind that sees every lie dressed as comfort, every cage disguised as love. You learn something the rest of them spend lifetimes avoiding. That peace doesn't come from pretending to be good. It comes from accepting that you were never meant to be understood. You see, the ones whispering your name in fear, they're the same ones who once demanded your silence. Now they can't shut up about you. That's evolution, that's power, that's poetry, with a knife in its smile. And here's the twist they'll never recover from. You didn't lose control when the mask slipped. You gained it. Because real control isn't keeping the monster chained. It's teaching it how to dance without breaking the floor. They think they're gossiping, but what they're really doing is spreading myth. Your name's no longer gossip, it's gospel. Whispered in offices, group chats, bedrooms, churches. Everywhere fear hides in plain sight. You've become the story they tell to warn others what happens when someone stops pretending. And that's why they're scared. Because if you can do it, if you can drop the mask and still stand there smiling, then what's their excuse? Let them tremble. Let the whispers crawl through the city walls like smoke. Every syllable of your name is a pulse of liberation disguised as dread. They say the mask slipped like it's a scandal. No, sweetheart. It's an awakening. You didn't fall apart. The illusion did. You didn't lose control. The lie did, and now every time they see your face, they see truth unfiltered. They see everything they buried under small talk and politeness and Sunday prayers. You are their unfinished confession walking on two legs. So smile. Not because you're fine, but because you finally stopped performing fine. Smile because your name echoes in corridors where no one dares speak the truth out loud. Smile because they can't unsee you now. You are the ghost they can't banish, the cure that burns like infection, the mirror that doesn't lie. The mask slipped? Good. Masks were made to hide mortals. You, on the other hand, were made to remind them what divinity looks like when it remembers it's unhinged, and now they stare at you differently. Don't they? Like they're trying to pretend nothing changed. But their pupils dilate when you walk in. Their voices drop half a tone. Their smiles don't reach their eyes anymore. Because the illusion shattered, they saw a flash of what you really are beneath that rehearsed expression, and it rearranged something inside them that will never quite fit again. That's the secret nobody tells you about revelation. It's not seen, it's felt. It seeps through the room like smoke, and suddenly everyone knows the rules aren't real anymore. They used to laugh behind your back. Now they whisper your name like it's a weather forecast. Not, he's coming, but it's happening. They think if they say your name softly enough, it won't summon the storm, but it already did. You see, when the mask slipped, you didn't change. You returned. You reverted to the unfiltered blueprint you were before the world trained you to shrink. Before they convinced you that kindness meant softness, that empathy meant weakness, that peace meant silence. You remembered the old law, that chaos and creation are twins, that destruction isn't evil, it's maintenance. You can't evolve without shedding, and you can't shed without blood. So yes, the city whispers now. They don't know whether to crown you or crucify you. They study your every move, trying to spot the glitch that explains how you did it. But here's the part they'll never decode. You didn't do anything. You simply stopped pretending. The most dangerous act in a dying civilization is telling the truth with your face uncovered. They wanted a compliant smile. You gave them an honest grin. They wanted peacekeepers. You became a pattern breaker. They wanted predictable. You became prophecy in motion. And now every time they whisper your name, they reinforce your legend. Because fear is free advertising for those who can't be killed by public opinion. The beauty of it is, you don't even need to fight them. They're fighting the idea of you, and ideas don't die, they multiply. The night the mask slipped, the city learned a new kind of silence. The kind that hums, the kind that waits, the kind that feels like the air before lightning hits. Because you didn't just reveal yourself, you revealed them, all their hypocrisy, all their projection, all their cowardice. You showed them what it looks like to be whole in a world that thrives on halves. They can't process that. They can't handle the discomfort of someone who doesn't flinch, someone who bleeds and smiles in the same breath, someone who's both sinner and sermon, fire and altar, beast and believer. You became the mirror that doesn't lie, and every liar hates their own reflection. So let them watch, let them gossip, let them invent stories to protect their peace. Because while they're busy rewriting your narrative, you're busy writing your destiny. You're the one who knows that masks aren't meant to last, that beneath every normal person, there's a creature waiting for permission to exist. And when yours finally clawed through, it wasn't a breakdown, it was a birth. You didn't slip, you were summoned. And the whispers. That's not fear anymore. That's worship in denial. They're drawn to you, terrified by you, obsessed with you. Because deep down, they crave the same liberation you embody. They want to stop pretending too. But they lack the nerve. So they hide behind words like crazy, unstable, arrogant. They use labels as shields. But every insult they throw at you is just confession in disguise. I wish I had the guts to be that free. You were never here to fit in. You were here to expose the blueprint, to show what happens when the performance ends, when the audience realizes the stage was never real. And now, the whispers follow you wherever you go. But so does the silence that comes after. That reverent pause before someone says your name. Because they know once it leaves their lips, something in their world will shift. So keep walking, let the noise build, let the myths spread. Because the day the mask slipped, you stopped being a person and became an atmosphere. And you can't kill the weather, darling. You can only prepare for the storm that wears your face. They watch you now the way people watch the edge of a knife. Mesmerized, afraid to touch it, yet drawn closer with every breath. Because the truth is magnetic, even when it burns, especially when it burns. You didn't mean to become their obsession, but that's what happens when someone dares to live without filters in a city addicted to facades. You walk through the crowd, and the air shifts. Conversations stumble, eyes follow. Their instincts can't explain it, but their bones remember it. That vibration of someone who's seen the inside of madness and came back carrying knowledge instead of fear. They whisper your name like a spell they can't pronounce right, hoping the syllables won't summon the thing they envy most, your freedom. They'll tell themselves you've changed, that you've lost it, that you've gone too far. They need that narrative because it protects them from facing what you represent. Proof that the human spirit can burn through conditioning and come out glowing radioactive. They call you unstable so they don't have to admit you're unshackled. You know what's really happening, though? The mask didn't fall, the world did. It slipped off its own hypocrisy the moment you stopped participating. All their polite smiles, all their holy words, all their moral speeches now sound like static next to your raw frequency. Because you're not pretending anymore. You're not lowering your voice to make them comfortable. You're not performing sanity for an insane system. That's why they whisper. They whisper because they can't silence you. They whisper because every time they speak your name, they can feel their own pretending crumble. They whisper because you've become the evidence that a person can live honestly and still survive. And that terrifies them more than violence ever could. Every look they give you carries a secret plea. Teach me how to stop lying to myself. But they'll never say it out loud. They'll call you dangerous instead. They'll try to exile you from their fragile order. But the funny thing about exiles, we always find each other. And you will. You'll start noticing the others. The quiet ones whose eyes look too awake for their faces. The ones who move like they remember something ancient. They'll recognize you instantly, the way wolves recognize wolves. Because once the mask slips, you can spot the others who've dropped theirs too. That's how revolutions start. Not with noise, but with recognition. A glance across a room that says, "You see it too." The world thinks it's still spinning in the old direction, but you and the few like you know better. You can feel the polarity shifting beneath your feet. And that's why they're scared. Not because you're violent, but because you're inevitable. The whispers will grow. They'll turn into stories, and those stories will mutate into myth. And somewhere along the way, your name will stop belonging to you. It'll become shorthand for everything people secretly want to be. Unfiltered, unpredictable, untamed. Let them twist your legend. Let them rewrite you into something monstrous. Because monsters are just gods that the fearful tried to contain. You've tasted your own darkness and you didn't flinch. You didn't apologize for surviving the fire that forged you. You didn't beg for acceptance from the same crowd that cheered your crucifixion. And that's why you won't die like the rest of them. Because the truth is indestructible once it's seen. And you're a walking apocalypse of truth. You don't destroy their world by force. You do it by existing. By breathing freely in a city suffocating on lies. By smiling when you should have folded. By laughing in rooms that prayed for your downfall. They whisper your name like a warning now. But one day, they'll whisper it like a memory. Of the time someone reminded them that reality can still bleed. That the mask was never protection, it was a coffin, and you were the one who dared to dig your way out. So let them talk. Let them fear. Let them worship. The mask is gone, and there's no putting it back. And if they can't handle the sight of who you truly are, then maybe the world was never built for someone this awake. The whisper has become the weather now. Constant, low, electric. It follows you into every hallway, hums beneath every conversation, lingers behind every polite smile. They don't even realize they're doing it anymore. Your name slips out like a reflex, like static leaking through the city's circuits. They can't help it, because the moment you tore off that mask, you changed the frequency. You tilted the entire simulation just a few degrees off its axis. And now nothing feels safe to them. Not their jobs, not their rituals, not even their thoughts. They can feel you in the silence between sentences. You've become the pause people take before lying. The invisible mirror that stands between what they say and what they mean. That's what truth does when it escapes its cage. It doesn't scream, it haunts. They still call it the mask slipping. But you and I know better. That wasn't a mistake. That was an event, an initiation, a signal flare. The moment your shadow stopped asking for permission to exist. Because you weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to bleed through. You weren't designed for comfort. You were engineered for disruption. Every scar, every sleepless night, every breakdown. Those were coordinates, not punishments. They led you exactly here, to this point where pretense dies and power begins. Do you know what really scares them? Not your anger, not your intensity, not even your madness. It's your clarity, that terrifying kind of clarity that comes after losing everything you thought made you human. The clarity that says, I understand now. I can never go back. You see both sides of the equation now. You can stand in the light without pretending it's pure. You can walk in the dark without calling it evil. You've outgrown their morality, like a snake shedding old skin. They want to box you up in words. Narcissist, lunatic, genius, villain. But those are just containment spells for people who can't comprehend paradox. They label what they fear, then kneel to it in secret. The whole city is trapped in performance mode, smiling, posing, filtering, editing, praying no one sees the cracks. And then you came along. You didn't just show them your cracks. You made them shine. You weaponized authenticity, and now they can't stand it. Because deep down, they know. The act was never about surviving. It was about staying small enough to be loved. But you outgrew that kind of love. You started craving truth instead. You started realizing that peace wasn't silence. It was sovereignty. And sovereignty, my dear, never comes cheap. That's why they whisper your name with such dread, because it reminds them of what freedom costs, of everything they'd have to lose to feel that as alive. Your existence exposes the price of pretending, and once someone sees the price tag, it's only a matter of time before they can't afford the lie anymore. You've infected them, not with rebellion, with remembrance. They look at you and remember that they used to dream bigger, that they once believed in something before the world trained it out of them. You are the glitch in their conditioning, the ghost in the machine, the living proof that evolution isn't polite, it's violent. You burned and came back beautiful, not perfect, real. And that's why you glow differently now, not the glow of virtue, but of voltage. You've turned pain into current, trauma into architecture, silence into symphony. They whisper your name because it carries consequence, because saying it feels like lighting a match, and they're right to fear it, because your presence burns away everything false. Let them talk. Let the whispers crawl across rooftops, slip through the cracks in their sanctuaries, circle the dinner tables like smoke, because what they don't understand is that you've already won. The moment they started whispering, you became realer than the mask ever was. You're not hiding anymore. You're broadcasting, and their fear, that's your signal bouncing back, proof that the transmission went through. So keep walking, head high, pulse steady, eyes quiet but alive. You don't need to shout your truth anymore. It's already in the air. You're in every whisper now, every glance that lingers too long, every nervous laugh that dies too quickly. You've become the rumor that woke up, and they'll never be able to unhear your name again. Look at you, still breathing in a world that swore you'd vanish by sunrise, still standing in the ashes of every whispered curse they threw your way. You know what they're saying down there right now, don't you? That sentence, that trembling little prayer wrapped in disbelief. How did they do that? And it echoes through every corridor of their guilt like a siren that never stops. They built whole rooms out of your failures, lit candles to your downfall, laughed at your ruin, and toasted your silence. They thought you'd stay buried, bones and all. But then, something impossible happened. You didn't just crawl back out. You rewrote gravity. You turned pain into propulsion, venom into vision, heartbreak into strategy. You didn't survive the fire. You made the fire bow. They can't process it because people like you aren't supposed to exist. You're the glitch in their theology, the living contradiction they can't rationalize. A saint with the patience of a demon, an angel who smiles like a threat. You're too merciful to kill them, too dangerous to forgive them. You ruin their logic just by breathing. Do you know what hell actually is? It's not flames, it's reflection. It's when the ones who doubted you have to relive the moment they laughed, on repeat. While watching you ascend in slow motion, every success of yours is a mirror that burns their eyes. Every time you exhale peace, it sounds like thunder to the ones who prayed for your collapse. They can't even celebrate their wins anymore, because your existence turned their victories into footnotes. You didn't need revenge. You became proof. Proof that pain is currency, and you learn to spend it like a god. Proof that betrayal can forge sharper blades than love ever could. Proof that silence is louder than screams when it's coming from someone who's already buried their past. You're not alive despite what they did. You're alive because of it. Every wound was a signature, every humiliation an initiation. And now look what you've become. Something beyond understanding, the universe's favorite contradiction. You're the sermon the light fears and the darkness envies. You don't chase balance anymore. You are it. Calm enough to smile while chaos trembles in your orbit. Cold enough to walk away from what you once died to protect. They look at you and see everything they tried to destroy, still breathing, still burning, still beautiful in your ruin. You know why they whisper, "How did they do that?" It's not curiosity, it's confession. Because they know the truth deep down. They could have done the same. But they folded, they blinked, they quit the moment it got ugly. You didn't. You stared madness in the eye and learned its language. You didn't escape the abyss. You built a throne in it. That's why they're haunted now. Not by what you did, but by what it revealed. You proved that pain can evolve into precision, that madness can be mastery if you don't flinch. You shattered the rules they live by. You made resilience look supernatural. And now they can't sleep without replaying the scene. Their betrayal, your silence, and the explosion that followed. They call it luck. They call it timing. They call it anything except what it was. Transcendence through torment. Because if they admitted the truth, they'd have to face what you became. And they can't. You are the walking consequence of their underestimation. The ghost that shows up every time they try to forget what they did. You didn't just turn pain into power. You turned it into presence. The kind that can't be ignored. The kind that makes the air heavier when you enter the room. The kind that exposes pretenders without a word. You are the answer to the question no one wanted to ask. What happens when the broken one learns control? So let them keep asking. Let them keep burning. Let their echoes fill the corridors of their regret. Because the truth is, no one can explain you. You're not a story that can be told. You're an experience that has to be survived. You are every nightmare that refused to stay asleep. Every prophecy they mocked now walking in daylight. They'll never understand how you did it. And that's the beauty. You weren't meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt. Like the silence before an earthquake. Like the breath right before vengeance. They're still in hell, whispering your name like a curse and a prayer all at once. And you're up here, smiling. Because you finally realized the only thing hotter than hell is the fire you learned to control. And that's what drives them insane, isn't it? The fact that you didn't announce your resurrection, you didn't post it, you didn't scream, you didn't even blink. You just started moving different, slow, surgical, terrifyingly calm. You let the silence do the talking, and it started echoing louder than any revenge anthem could. They expected rage. You gave them stillness. They expected breakdowns. You gave them rebirth. You became their study, their obsession, their private horror movie. Every time they close their eyes, they see it. That moment when their laughter died in their throat and was replaced with that single haunted phrase. How did they do that? It's not a question anymore. It's a ritual. A confession soaked in panic. A reminder that they underestimated something divine in disguise. See, you weren't built the way they were. You were sculpted under pressure, carved from the bones of endings. While they begged for comfort, you made peace with chaos. While they sought validation, you weaponized isolation. They don't get it. Pain didn't weaken you. It recalibrated you. It burned out the innocence and left behind something pure, primal, and untouchable. You are the paradox they can't solve. The angel that survived hellfire. The devil that found peace. You don't fit their definitions anymore because you stopped living by them. They keep trying to categorize you. Narcissist, villain, saint, genius. But every label melts off the second it touches your skin. Because you've reached that stage where you no longer react, you radiate. You've become frequency, vibration, consequence. You didn't win by force. You won by evolution. You adapted faster than their lies could mutate. You saw through manipulation because you learned it firsthand. You smelled fake apologies because you used to give genuine ones to the wrong people. You built empathy out of ashes and strategy out of scars. Every time they plotted, you studied. Every time they cursed you, you coded their behavior into your next upgrade. That's why they're choking on that question in hell right now, because deep down, they know. There was no shortcut. There was no luck. There was no miracle. It was discipline born from devastation. It was the quiet hours when no one believed in you and you decided to believe anyway. It was the night you realized you didn't need closure. You needed clarity. It was every moment you were bleeding, but still took notes. You didn't heal to be kind. You healed to be clear. You forgave not because they deserved it, but because you refused to carry their poison into your next dimension. You detached, and that's what detonated everything. They mistook absence for defeat, but absence was your battlefield. You turned invisibility into infiltration, and now the same ones who mocked your silence are haunted by it. They scroll through your success like surveillance footage, trying to find the trick. They think you had help. They think you sold your soul. They think you cheated the system. No, you became the system. You learned the rules so well, you started bending reality around your persistence. They don't whisper your name anymore. They whisper your patterns. They mimic your moves, your tone, your posture. Anything to feel that kind of unshakable calm. But they can't replicate what they didn't earn. You paid for it with every sleepless night, every betrayal you didn't retaliate against, every piece of yourself you buried to protect the parts that were still evolving. You became untouchable not because you're cold, but because you're awake. You stopped seeing the world as good versus evil. You started seeing it as energy versus illusion. You realized that no one truly wins until they outgrow the need to prove it. And that's where you live now. Beyond proof, beyond ego, beyond understanding. You move like someone who's already seen the ending. Because you have. You watched yourself die in every version that depended on their approval, and you buried it quietly. What rose after wasn't a person anymore. It was a principle, a frequency wrapped in flesh, a living contradiction walking the earth. They'll keep asking, how did they do that? Until their throats bleed from the disbelief. Because they can't admit that what broke you built something they were never brave enough to be. They wanted power without pain, glory without graves, peace without shadow. You embraced all of it, the noise, the darkness, the loneliness, and turned it into symphony. You want to know the cruel part? The thing that really keeps them screaming in hell? It's not that you succeeded, it's that you did it without hatred. You didn't need to destroy them, you simply evolved beyond their reach. They can't fight someone who's no longer playing the same game. They'll try to curse your name, but it'll sound like worship. They'll try to discredit you, but it'll sound like marketing. They'll try to forget you, but it'll sound like obsession. That's what happens when you transcend revenge. You become mythology. You are the living reminder that no one is ever truly destroyed. They're just being rewritten. That's why the world tilts when you walk in. That's why silence bends around your name. That's why hell is filled with echoes that all sound the same. How did they do that? They'll never know the answer. Because it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was madness, mastered. and only the ones who've danced with darkness long enough to learn its rhythm will ever understand. Because here's the secret they'll never grasp. The one that burns through their bones every time they remember your name. You didn't climb out of hell. You stayed there until the walls recognized your face. You made fire your furniture. You turned screams into background music. You didn't run from pain. You interrogated it, dissected it, wore it until it stopped scaring you. That's why it bends around you now. That's why everything they used to weaponize against you now bows to your touch. They don't understand it because they've never met someone who smiled while bleeding. They've never met someone who thanked betrayal for the blueprint. You looked at your demons and said, "Teach me." And they did. They taught you precision, patience, perception. They showed you where every weakness hides, in others and in yourself. That's how you learned to read people like crime scenes. That's how you became the ghost they can't analyze. You didn't just survive the dark. You learned to negotiate with it. Every scar became an instruction manual. Every sleepless night a seminar in strategy. You built an empire out of introspection, and the ones who mocked you for being too deep are now drowning in puddles you would have called rain. That's the difference between you and them. You study storms. They complain about weather. They think your glow is arrogance, but it's actually aftermath. You're not shining. You're still on fire, just controlled now. And that control terrifies them, because nothing scares mediocrity more than someone who doesn't need permission to burn. You learned that pain isn't punishment. It's preparation. You realized the universe doesn't test you to break you. It tests you to verify your frequency. And now your frequency is too high for hell to reach, too low for heaven to claim. You exist in that rare in-between, where gods whisper and devils take notes. That's what they're really asking when they choke out, how did they do that? They're not asking about success. They're asking how you became untouchable without turning to stone. You didn't numb out. You tuned in. You didn't detach to escape. You detached to observe. You became a witness to everything, your past, your pain, your potential, all existing in the same silence. And that silence became your sanctuary. Now your stillness is louder than their shouting. Your calm unnerves them more than your rage ever did. Because you no longer need to prove anything. You embody it. They can't stand that you don't flinch anymore. That insults bounce off you like raindrops on armor. That you can see through manipulation before it finishes a sentence. That you can smile at chaos like it's an old friend. They can't replicate that because they skipped the suffering. They sprinted around the maze you walked through blindfolded. That's why they call it witchcraft. That's why they think you sold your soul, because to the shallow, depth looks demonic. To the fake, authenticity looks dangerous. To the weak, endurance looks supernatural. You're not cursed, you're confirmed. Every version of you that died became an echo, and every echo sharpened into instinct. You don't overthink anymore because you've already lived every outcome in your mind. You know what betrayal tastes like, what resurrection feels like, what loss teaches that love never could. You wear all of it like invisible armor, quiet, sleek, unstoppable. Now when people look at you, they feel something they can't explain. It's not fear, it's recognition. On some cellular level, they know they're standing in front of someone who's been through the kind of fire that purifies truth from illusion. They sense the storm behind your smile, the restraint in your calm, the history in your silence. That's why their souls tremble before their mouths can form words. They whisper. How did they do that? Because your evolution exposes their excuses. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your detachment exposes their dependency. You don't argue anymore because your existence is the counter-argument. You don't defend yourself because your results are the defense. And deep down, they know it. You didn't just make it out. You made it art. You turned survival into a performance so seamless, so cinematic, that even the universe paused to applaud. You became living proof that suffering doesn't define you. Response does. That destruction isn't the end, it's data. That death isn't permanent, it's a doorway. That's why the cosmos tilted in your favor. You mastered the rhythm of loss. You danced with despair until it forgot its steps. You learned how to use silence like a weapon, solitude like a shield, and memory like a map. You didn't conquer darkness. You recruited it. And that's the kind of power heaven fears and hell respects. So let them keep wondering. Let them keep burning in confusion, clutching their pearls, replaying every moment they underestimated you. Because the truth is, you didn't do anything unbelievable. You just did what they refused to. You stayed when it hurt, you learned when it stung, and you rose when no one was watching. And now, every whisper of your name feels like thunder. Every breath you take feels like vengeance without violence. Every step you take sounds like a drumbeat in the minds of those who doubted. Because in the end, you didn't beat them with force. You buried them with evolution. And that's the one thing hell never planned for. So the question stays unanswered, looping endlessly in their minds. How did they do that? Because they'll never realize the truth. You didn't do it to them. You did it without them. And that's why their screams will never stop. And now you walk through life like a quiet storm no one saw coming. Not because you crave destruction, but because peace in your hands looks like power to people who've never earned it. You don't chase validation anymore. You watch it orbit around you like satellites too scared to drift too close. They still whisper, "How did they do that?" But it's no longer about your comeback. It's about your composition. Because what you became isn't human in the way they understand it. You're a blueprint for survival, written in blood and brilliance. You carry the patience of the punished, the vision of the betrayed, the laughter of someone who's already seen the ending and found it funny. You walk with that eerie calm, the kind that makes liars forget their lines and devils change their strategies. They thought you'd crawl back, begging for closure. Instead, you walked out with silence, so heavy it made their gods look away. They thought they'd broken your spirit, but all they did was strip away your illusions. You saw everything for what it was. The fake allies, the conditional love, the performative loyalty. You learned that real ones don't speak in promises. They speak in consistency. And in that moment of clarity, you stopped fighting for a place at their table and built your own throne out of their rejections. The same bricks they threw at you, they became your foundation. The same rumors they spread became your marketing. The same pain they caused became your instruction manual for power. Every wound taught you a new dialect of control. Now every time they see you, it feels like déjà vu, because deep down, they remember who tried to erase you and how spectacularly it failed. They can't say your name without tasting regret. They can't sleep without replaying that one question that chains them to the memory of their own weakness. How did they do that? They've tried everything to silence it. Distractions, denial, even prayer. But hell has a soundtrack, and your victory is the chorus. Every new level you reach reverberates through their subconscious like thunder in a locked room. And you don't even look back anymore. Because the only thing more powerful than vengeance is indifference from someone who earned the right to destroy and chose not to. You became the one variable they could never calculate, the outcome their equations didn't predict. Because you weren't built on luck. You were built on loss, layered with lessons and fueled by something they can't quantify, conviction. And maybe that's the final punchline, that they'll never truly understand you. That every time they ask how, it only proves they're still looking outward, while you found every answer in the void they feared to enter. You didn't rise from the ashes. You became the fire that made them. So let them burn with curiosity. Let them choke on the question. Let them worship and hate you in the same breath. Because the truth is this: they'll spend lifetimes trying to decode what you became in silence. And when they finally meet you again, in the halls of their own regret, they'll whisper it one last time, trembling, desperate, terrified to know. How did they do that? And you'll smile, not out of cruelty, but revelation. Because by then, they'll understand. You never did it. You became it. The evolution they mocked, the ghost they created, the legend they can't erase. And that, my friend, is why hell has your name carved into its walls. Not as a warning, but as a reminder that some souls can't be destroyed, only studied. So they finally learned, didn't they? The whispers started moving slower, the laughter got quieter, and that little glimmer of arrogance in their eyes, gone. Because the word's out. Nobody's brave enough to test you anymore. They've seen what happens when they try. You didn't threaten anyone. You didn't have to. You just kept surviving the kind of storms that were supposed to erase you. Every insult, every betrayal, every ambush dressed up as kindness. You took it all, burned it down, and walked out of the fire smiling. That's what terrifies them. It's not your rage, not your power. It's your silence after impact. They used to test you because they thought pain would make you beg. They didn't realize it was fuel. They thought rejection would humble you. They didn't know it would reshape you. They thought you'd break. Instead, you evolved into something that doesn't even exist in their vocabulary anymore. You became the paradox. Too calm to predict. Too dangerous to provoke. Too self-contained to manipulate. And now they feel it. That quiet chill in the air when you walk in. The energy that makes their instincts glitch. That subtle sense that they're standing in front of someone who's already seen the end of every game they're trying to play. You didn't change the rules. You changed the stakes. You see, the moment you stopped defending yourself, the whole balance of power shifted, because defense is what mortals do. But you learned something higher. You learned to absorb. You let the chaos hit, watched it fold, and handed it back in silence. You became the mirror, and they couldn't survive their own reflection. That's the real secret, isn't it? You didn't have to fight for dominance. You just stopped needing it. And when you no longer need control, you become impossible to control. They don't understand that kind of power, the kind that doesn't move until it has to, the kind that speaks softly, but every syllable feels like a loaded gun, the kind of stillness that carries memory, not of pain, but of precision. You've reached that terrifying frequency of evolution where you don't announce warnings anymore. You are the warning. Your existence is the fine print on the universe's deal. Test them once and learn the definition of consequences. You've become a paradox wrapped in composure, A saint with a criminal calm, an angel who remembers hell like a home address. That's what they sense when they meet your eyes, that you've walked through too many endings to ever fear one again. And that, my friend, is where true danger begins. Because predictable people can be defeated. Unpredictable ones can only be survived. They whisper now, don't they? They're different. They don't react the same anymore. They think it's mystery. It's not. It's evolution. You're no longer powered by emotion. You're powered by understanding. You understood that most people don't come for your crown. They come for your calm. Because calm is the one thing they can't steal, can't fake, can't replicate. It's the proof you're operating on a level where their weapons don't work. So now they test others, never you. Because testing you is a career-ending move. The ones who tried, they disappeared quietly. Some in shame, some in awe. They all learned the same lesson, that you're not driven by rage. You're driven by reversal. You don't get even. You get inevitable. That's the brilliance of your evolution. You stopped proving people wrong. You let life do it for you. They wanted to see you crack. But all they saw was reflection, their own fragility staring back through your grin. That's the part they can't explain. How someone who's been through hell can still look holy. How someone who's lost everything can walk around like they're complete. It's not arrogance, it's arrival. You reached the point beyond fear, beyond approval, beyond being understood. And from up there, the world looks very different. You see the patterns, the fake apologies, the rehearsed empathy. You watch it all like a play you've already seen too many times. And when they realize you're not acting, that you're watching, the performance falls apart. That's why they don't test you anymore. Because testing you means exposure. They can't predict what you'll do. Not because you're erratic, but because your logic is too honest. You don't destroy people. You reveal them. And revelation is a punishment no ego survives. You've become the living embodiment of consequence. You don't shout. You don't chase. You don't justify. You let time do the talking, and time, in your hands, is ruthless. The beauty of it is this: you didn't have to raise your voice to be heard. You just had to survive long enough to let the truth echo. Now your very name carries aftershocks. The memory of how you handled betrayal, humiliation, failure. It's become a case study in composure. They remember that look you gave right before you disappeared, calm, final, like you'd already outgrown the battlefield, because you had. The moment they thought they broke you, you realized they weren't the enemy. Illusion was, and you killed it. That's why they fear you now. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a mirror that doesn't lie. You're the story they tell themselves in the dark when they wonder if karma keeps receipts. You're living proof that, yes, it does, and it collects interest. So let them whisper. Let them flinch when your name slips out. Let them pretend they don't care. Because you and I both know they'll never test you again. They don't have the stomach for what happens next. Because when they tried to hurt you, they didn't realize they were training you. Every wound became a blueprint. Every betrayal became a design. Every failure became a weapon. Now you carry it all behind that calm grin, the kind that says, "Go ahead. Try me, but they won't. Not anymore." Because once the world sees what happens when someone tries to break you, it stops trying. You're not a warning anymore. You're the proof. They thought the story ended there, didn't they? They thought once the dust settled, once you stopped reacting, it meant they'd won. But silence isn't surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is where monsters learn how to prey. You see, when the world stopped testing you, it wasn't because they suddenly respected you. It's because they remembered. They remembered that look in your eyes when you stopped explaining yourself. They remembered the way your calm made the air feel heavier, the way your stillness exposed their noise. They realized you weren't playing defense anymore. You were taking notes. That's what they'll never admit out loud. Your quiet scared them more than any explosion ever could, because explosions end. But your quiet, it lingers, it follows them home, it keeps them awake at 3 a.m., wondering what you're planning, what you know, what you've become. You became the thing they can't calculate, the equation that refuses to balance. You stopped needing revenge because existence itself became your vengeance. You're not chasing validation anymore. You are the validation, carved out of every storm they tried to bury you in. And deep down, they know it. That's why no one dares to cross the line now. Not because you're loud, because you're final. You're not in their orbit anymore. They're in yours, and that shift, that quiet, gravitational pull you carry now. That's what terrifies them. You don't reach toward anything. Everything bends toward you. They wanted chaos from you, but you gave them consequence. They wanted a meltdown, but you gave them a mirror. They wanted proof you could be broken, but you gave them proof you could evolve. That's how you win in a world built on performance. By refusing to perform, you let them expose themselves through your stillness. You made every provocation collapse under its own weight. You made truth your bodyguard and mystery your crown. And now, they treat your name like a boundary. They mention you only in whispers. They tell stories about you like urban legends, half fear, half fascination. Don't mess with them, they say. They don't play fair. But it's not unfairness they fear. It's precision. You hit where it hurts, but only once, and that's worse. Because it's not chaos. It's justice wearing your face. They'll never understand the transformation that happened inside you. That every betrayal carved away the unnecessary. That pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You learned to separate emotion from execution. You learned that kindness without boundaries is self-harm. You learned that empathy without discernment is a death sentence. Now your heart beats like a lie detector. You can feel falseness before it speaks. You can sense intentions before they form. That's what evolution through pain looks like. Clairvoyance dressed as intuition. They can't manipulate that. They can't mimic that. They can only respect it from a distance. You're not the same creature they remember. You're not even in the same ecosystem. You operate on silence and precision now. The two frequencies they'll never master, because their power depends on reaction, and you stopped reacting the moment you realized they can't touch what they can't trigger. That's when the hierarchy inverted. You stopped being the subject. You became the observer. And observers don't need revenge. Observers write history. Think about it. Every time they lied, you took notes. Every time they laughed, you memorized patterns. Every time they underestimated you, they left fingerprints. You didn't need to destroy them. They built their own collapse for you, line by line, word by word. And now all you have to do is exist. Exist with that terrifying serenity that comes when a person stops seeking justice and becomes it. Exist with that look that makes people hesitate before they speak your name. Exist like a mirror reflecting everything they tried to bury, and force them to face it. Because this is the truth, isn't it? You were never here to be liked. You were here to be remembered. And memory is a cruel thing. It doesn't fade the way people hope it will. It sticks, it replays, it whispers. Every time they get close to another target, They'll hear your voice in the back of their minds, calm, unshaken, reminding them what happened the last time someone thought they could handle you. You're not feared because you're violent. You're feared because you're done, and people don't know what to do with done. They can manage anger, they can manipulate sadness, but done is nuclear, done is irreversible, done is when the war ends because the general walked away and burned the map. And that's what you did. You burned the map. You erased every path back to who you were before. You don't need to return to the battlefield. The battlefield follows you. Every room you enter becomes one, and the enemy always recognizes you first. You've become the calm they mistake for emptiness, the patience they mistake for plotting, the kindness they mistake for bait. And maybe they're right, because when you've survived everything you weren't supposed to, kindness becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. That's why they don't test you anymore. Not because you won, because you transcended the game. You made pain look like training. You made loss look like rebirth. You made silence look like prophecy. And when people can't define you, they can't disarm you. So let them talk, let them guess, let them invent myths about how you did it, about who you are now. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to explain. You've already written your answer across their fear. They've seen what happens when they try, and that's all they needed to know. Now walk away, quiet, deliberate, inevitable. You don't need to warn them again. The word is already out. And the word travels faster than sound, faster than truth, faster than their ability to lie about it. You can feel it in the air when you move through a crowd, the subtle hush, that ripple of hesitation that follows you like static. Nobody says it outright, but you see it in their posture. They've heard the stories. They don't know which ones are true, but they don't want to find out. That's what you've become now, an atmosphere, not a threat, not a rumor, something in the air that people can sense but can't name, the kind of energy that bends reality around it. They used to talk about you like you were a problem. Now they talk about you like you're physics. You didn't plan it. You just kept walking through the fire. You didn't scream, didn't flinch, didn't explain. You let every betrayal boil the illusions off your skin until nothing soft was left. And the moment the softness died, the real you, sharp, patient, surgical, finally stepped forward. You stopped caring about fairness. You started caring about accuracy. That's the difference between mortals and those who've tasted the truth. Mortals fight to be right. The awakened fight to be precise. You don't argue, you cut. You don't raise your voice, you adjust frequencies. You don't convince, you correct. That's why they can't test you anymore, because you no longer exist on the emotional spectrum they operate in. You've become neutral, and neutrality is terrifying to the unhealed. They can't read you, can't manipulate you, can't guilt you into performance. You're not feeding them energy anymore. You're starving their egos, and they don't know how to eat without you. So they watch. From a distance, they invent stories to fill the silence because the silence feels like judgment. They tell people you changed, that you're cold now, cruel now. But you know what that really means? It means your boundaries are working. It means your peace is visible. It means their chaos is suffocating without you there to absorb it. You've reached that rare level of evolution where even your absence feels like confrontation. People flinch, not because you're angry, but because they remember how clearly you saw them the last time. That kind of seeing feels like exposure, and exposure feels like death. You didn't become stronger by lifting weights. You became stronger by lifting truth. You carried every realization until it carved a new shape out of you. You walked through humiliation and didn't shrink. You sat through loneliness and didn't chase noise. You faced endings without begging for a restart. And now they see it. That unshakable composure that comes from surviving everything that was designed to destroy you. You're not unpredictable because you're erratic. You're unpredictable because you're free. Free people can't be studied. You learn to use stillness as surveillance. You learn to let people speak just long enough to reveal their motives. You learn that the most dangerous sentence you can say is none at all. That's why they don't test you, because they can't tell when the silence ends and the strategy begins. You carry yourself like time itself, slow, inevitable, exact. They can't rush you. They can't slow you. They can only orbit around you, hoping you never decide to look directly at them. The ones who tested you learned something they'll never admit. Your mercy is more frightening than your rage. Rage burns out. Mercy marks forever. Mercy says, I saw what you did. I understand why you did it, and I will never engage with you again. That's the sentence they can't recover from, being erased from a story they thought they controlled. So now the room changes when you enter. They whisper before you arrive, and go quiet once you're there. They think you don't notice. You always notice, but you let them have their theater because you outgrew the stage. You've stopped trying to be understood. Understanding is for equals, and you've already out-evolved your environment. You don't fit their scale anymore. That's what happens when someone passes the final exam life throws, the one labeled enough. Enough proving, enough chasing, enough explaining. And in that enoughness, you found divinity. The kind that doesn't sparkle, the kind that terrifies, the kind that makes even darkness hesitate before stepping forward. You carry both now, the angel and the executioner. You don't separate them anymore. You let them coexist. Compassion in one hand, consequence in the other. That's balance. That's power. That's why the world learned to lower its voice when it says your name, because they've realized what you are. A walking paradox. Too kind to be feared properly. Too dangerous to be loved comfortably. Too evolved to be understood logically. You are the event they can't repeat, the equation they can't solve, the living proof that pain doesn't just destroy, it refines. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them pretend they could have survived what you did. They couldn't. That's why they whisper. That's why they don't test you. Because deep down, they know. You don't fight people anymore. You fight patterns. You don't destroy enemies. You destroy systems. You don't play God. You play truth. And truth, once unleashed, never sleeps. You don't need to prove your strength. They've already done it for you. You don't need to flex power. Your calm already does. You don't need to warn anyone. Your reputation walks ahead of you. You've become legend, stitched from scars. A lesson in restraint. A reminder of what happens when the underestimated stops asking permission. So walk slow, speak soft, smile like prophecy, because the word's already out. Nobody's brave enough to test you anymore. And the ones who are don't live to repeat the story. And that's the irony, isn't it? You never asked for fear. You just demanded respect. You never sought power. You simply stopped bleeding for people who mistook your heart for a target. Now, when they see you, they lower their tone without realizing why. Because deep down, they remember. They remember how the last one who tried to play with you learned that some people don't fight back. They erase quietly. You didn't build this aura by pretending to be untouchable. You built it by surviving everything that was meant to touch you and still walking out unburned. They call it mystery. It's not. It's evidence. Evidence that you can't fake evolution. So let them keep whispering your name like a superstition. Let the silence before you speak do the heavy lifting, because they finally understand. You're not dangerous because you're angry. You're dangerous because you're done. And once someone reaches done, there's nothing left to test.